the science.
Suffice it that the blood of 1,000 men and women was spilled within these walls. Limbs twisted and broken, eyes gouged from bloody sockets, flesh burned black.
Please. You're away from death. In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes. What you have to realize is that we're all just a mouse that a cat has by the tail.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is Monday, October 1st, 2007.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another exciting edition of World of the Unexplained. This is your host, Jay Scott.
And this is Chuck Browder here.
Sitting in for Trent Lackey tonight. Well, not for the whole night, but, you know, Trent gets a little late time to time, and so it's okay. We know he's out there driving hard.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't kill himself rushing over here.
Oh, he ain't going to, man. He's cool. I told him just to slide in, let us know when he gets here. We'll be
Gotcha.
fine. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. So anyway, yeah, we should have got him to grab a pizza or something.
A little McDonald's or something, man.
Well, I apologize. My voice isn't up to its normal timbre due to my infestation of some kind of sinus sickness, as usual of those of us that smoke cigarettes. Yeah, tough stuff, man. But, you know, hey, you get what you pay for.
And you probably get that about twice a year, huh? Once in the spring, once in the fall, man.
Yeah,
about a month.
I don't know,
a
4
downtime.
times a year maybe. I don't even know anymore. I've lost count. But anyway, I do want to say that I had probably the most terrifying weekend of my life. It's a story I'll have to relate. Chuck missed it because he wasn't there, but the entire Wotu crew and their significant others went to the Dixie Classic Fair this year in wonderful Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the second largest fair other than the state fair, by the way. Usually the turnout's about like 300,000 people.
Yeah, it's a huge one around here.
Yeah.
It's always heavily advertised, and I don't know. I remember as a kid too. I mean, that was a big weekend.
They have live animals.
Man. What kind of live animals?
Like llamas and camels and stuff.
I gotcha.
Yeah, kangaroo.
I was thinking serpents and.
I didn't see any of those.
No, nothing like that.
We didn't go see the serpent lady.
We saw the...
there was a serpent lady?
Yeah, there always is, man.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
You know all the freak show tents that they used to have in the old days, and now they've got like... It's just like a little sideshow where you go in and see things in jars and pictures. And it's like, come on, what a ripoff. You know, I mean, what happened to the good old honest-to-God freak shows where you go in and see the guy with 3 eyeballs? I don't know. The 1950s.
So that there were no...
Huh?
There were no genuine freaks. Is that what you're saying?
There hasn't been a genuine freak in a freak show in probably 30 years.
Because I'm getting pictures of I don't know. You ever see that show Carnival that was on HBO, man, with the bearded lady and all the classic.
No, you see all the freaks just walking around.
Yeah, you see the freaks when they walk around. Exactly. I ran into some of the most rudest people ever, and it gets that way every year. But I did have the most intense and terrifying night of my life. So I'll tell this story real quickly before we move on. I decided I'm looking at this, I'm not a ride person, okay? So I usually, the Ferris wheel, that's pretty hardcore for me. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm older and I don't know. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm watching this drop zone thing and I'm like thinking, I can do this. Right? It doesn't look like it's that hard.
Have you ever been on one?
No.
No, never.
No, never.
This is the first time.
Yeah. And, it's not that high. It's not as high as the one at Carowinds. So I'm thinking, I can dig this. This is fine. So I get in the seat. Oh, let me rephrase that. I try to get in the seat. my butt is so wide that it won't fit like down because it's like, those old plastic seats that have like the butt.
It's molded in there.
Yeah, your butt's already molded.
It's contoured.
Yeah, for your butt. And obviously my butt was too big for the contour, so I'm like kind of squishing out on the sides here, And that was the first problem. I'm like, I can't sit down in the seat right. And Trent's sitting beside me, and Trent's definitely not fitting in there. And so Trent ends up getting up and leaving. Well, then I had to pull this bar down over my, over my head that fits down over your chest. Well, apparently my chest sticks out so far that it couldn't click down the extra time it needed. So I'm sitting there looking at this Mexican guy that doesn't speak any English, and he gives me his blessing. Oh, yeah, it's fine. He pulls on a little bit. Oh, yeah, you're fine.
Did he give you one of these?
Yeah, no.
Kiss you off?
No, he didn't do the rosary cross thing, but it was. So I'm terrified, right? I'm going up here, and I'm hanging on for dear life. My knuckles are white. I'm sweating. We get to the top of the thing, and that's when, it's like it hits me. We're going to drop, and I may be falling out. So I'm hanging on, right? I'm not going to let this thing throw me out. Well, we drop, and then we come back up. And we come back up, I look like a guy doing Le Mans. I'm like, I mean, it was that bad. I mean, I don't know what the look on my face was. Dee saw it. I'm sure it was sheer terror.
It was quite funny.
Yes, there we go. Quite funny.
Pale face, white knuckles, sweating.
Oh, God. Yeah, it was awful. I had such an adrenaline rush when I came off this thing that I was just like, cigarette. I mean, I'm like physically shaking from the ride.
It sounded like it was a pretty stressful
Never
situation.
again.
Actually, it's probably good I'm telling you this after you've ridden it, but there was a case recently at one of these amusement parks where...
Something broke?
Well, actually, a girl, I think a 17-year-old girl, had her legs decapitated on one of these, yeah. Like a guide wire or something must have come loose or something, but yeah, just sheared them off.
Jeez.
Wow.
Well, he'll never ride again.
Yeah, you probably will never ride one of those again.
Oh, gosh.
You were never going to do it before, but now you definitely won't.
Not now, yeah. I think part of the whole terrifying process, though, was the fact that, it really wasn't the ride itself. I think I would have been a lot more cool and laid back had I not really thought that at any moment I could fly out of this thing. That's a scary place to be. Especially because it didn't look that high up from the ground, but when you get up there and look down, it's like, oh my gosh, we're up pretty high.
Oh, easily, man. That's probably an assured death, man, if you were to fallen out of that. I mean...
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, let's talk a little politics here before we get into it. What do you think about the Supreme Court reviewing the death penalty and making a call on whether or not it's constitutional? And we're not talking about the electric chair. We're talking about the lethal injection.
Actually, I think there's something to it because I've heard from several physicians, actually, that there is something to the whole paralysis. What is it, sodium pentothal or something? It's injected before the actual poison. And, they say it's actually, I think the reason why they do that is so when the poison, the strychnine or whatever they inject into you,
starts making
its way
through
its course, that it doesn't, offend or just...
So you don't start twitching around.
Strike the fear of God, exactly, into the people, the witnesses there witnessing the execution. But you know what? If you're there to witness an execution, that's probably what you should get anyway.
What happened... what happened to the militiamen that shot you to death, or the good old, public
firing
hangings?
squad probably is one of the fastest ones, I would imagine. That or maybe even a hanging.
Yeah.
Because the neck breaks instantly.
Or a good old-fashioned head chopping, guillotine style.
Although, apparently...
That's a little messy.
Yeah,
what is it, 16 seconds after your head's severed from your body? It's somewhere around there that supposedly you still have cognitive
Who can
function.
prove that?
Machines, man. You don't believe in science? You Christians don't believe in science?
That's right. Only the weird ones. No, you know what I mean.
The Scientologists?
Oh, Lord, let's not even go there. But you know what I'm talking about, though. I mean, just the whole idea that, you can say, okay, well, we can measure this function or that function, but how do you really know?
I mean, I guess you're right. It just could be impulses just randomly firing off because your head's been severed from your body.
Well, think about it.
Sensory overload, I don't know.
When I was a kid, my grandpa, we used to have a chicken farm. Good old rural South. But, we had a stump.
You cut the heads off of them? Yeah, I saw that.
Them.
Have you seen the show Kid Nation that's on? I
no,
can't remember what
I've
network
heard about
it is.
the awful.
I watched it last week, and I watched the kids cut the heads off a couple chickens. Man.
Really?
Yeah. They had some cojones to do that, I'd have to say, man. But go on. I didn't mean to interrupt your story.
No, that was just the story. Was the fact that when I was a kid, my grandpa would chop these chicken heads off, and the chicken would go take it off down the yard, and I'd run after it, and it's running. Those things are fast with their heads. That's where chicken with his head cut off, running like that really is where that slogan or that phrase comes from, because those things can run without heads. The headless chicken.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to the Supreme Court ruling, I mean, the point is, cruel and unusual punishment. I'm sorry, you're still killing someone. I mean, how painless do you want to make it? There has to be some pain involved, more than likely.
There may be something to the lethal injection argument, though, man. That may actually be cruel and unusual.
Well, tell that to the family.
Well, I understand that. But at the same time, what is the Constitution provides that no undue, what is it? Not stress, but suffrage.
Okay.
I know, you're the lawyer here, man.
I don't know. I don't.
What is the provision there, man?
I don't know. I don't use it.
You don't use it.
I haven't yet, so I don't really need to know. I mean, I know where the things are.
No, it's cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, I think that's the case that's been made here. And I don't know, maybe if they are using sodium pentothal just to pacify you in front of the witnesses, maybe there is something cruel and unusual to it.
I don't know. I think the whole idea is the liberalism has crept into this whole argument, and that's what's going on, because God forbid we hurt some killer for a brief
Well, God
few
forbid,
seconds.
you offend the witnesses, too. I mean...
Exactly. So it's better for him to feel the pain and you not be able to see it as an onlooker. Anyway, tonight we've got on Dr. Al Proffit for the first part of the show, followed by Jason Offutt for the second. Dr. Proffit, are you with us?
Hey, Jay, I sure am. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and I'm assuming that your usual list of suspects are there with Trent and Chuck and James?
No, actually, just Trent is gone.
Yeah, he's MIA.
Yeah.
Oh, he is.
He's going to be here later, though. He was running late. He gave us a call, so it's just me and Chuck are going to be talking to you tonight.
Okay, all right. Hey, Chuck, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
Right on. Well, then...
So what are you all talking about, all this Supreme Court? And
yeah.
Usually,
Scott's up in arms over the death penalty
John
here.
Henry send you the talking points today, Jay?
Just got off the phone with him, Al. No.
I know I'll pay for that. I don't know
Oh, man.
Well, how's the weather out there in Nashville?
Oh, it's been absolutely gorgeous. Looks like it's going to be a great fall. It's just it's clear and crisp here in the mountains, and leaves are beginning to change, and it's just absolutely glorious.
Well, we've got to make it up there sometime and spend a weekend with you and check some of that stuff
wonderful.
out.
Really would be wonderful. And this is a lovely time of year. It really, truly is, and it's really pretty here in the Watauga County area, and I mean to tell you that it's just bright and it's clear and it's crisp, and you know that if you believe the stuff that's written about the paranormal world, this is an exciting time of year for that too, because this is in the fall, naturally around Halloween and all that kind of stuff, all the paranormal stuff is supposed to come alive, and so I'm excited about that as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. And today is October 1st, so we're
absolutely
bridging right into to the new the month of Halloween here. Joshua Warren, I spoke to Eric, our mutual friend, and he had informed me that Joshua was starting some kind of new Asheville trolley tour or something, a haunted trolley. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not very familiar with it. It's been a while since I've talked to Joshua. I've emailed him back and forth. He did the Dark 30 tour this past
weekend.
Saturday, and I hosted for him on Speaking of Strange, and I saw that advertised, but I don't know much about that. So I don't know. He was the one that originated the Haunted Asheville tour, and I've taken it, and it was pretty good. So I'm sure this is going to be good as well.
Asheville has a trolley?
That'd be the most paranormal thing to me, because I'm not sure where the trolley is. I don't know.
That's what I was going to say, is I've been to Asheville. I've never seen a trolley down there.
No, I have no idea. Maybe it's his trolley.
Over there.
I have no clue. Maybe it's his. I don't know.
He's going to bust it out for the tour?
I have no idea. This is just what I've heard through the grapevine. I don't know. I'm not saying these are true, or I don't know. Eric was telling me today I think they're going to try it out tomorrow So if you're in the area and have some free time, you might want to give Joshua a call and see if...
Yeah, and it could be something that, that they've got some type of trolley on wheels or something. It could be, a motorized trolley. I don't
Moped.
know. When you think of trolley, you think of San Francisco or something, don't you? That's on a track.
Yeah,
That's about the only place I can think of in the world that has a trolley, to be honest with you.
I was in Edinburgh, and Edinburgh has trolleys.
Okay.
Yeah, but, other than San Francisco and Edinburgh, I'm not real sure about trolleys, and I'm like you. I thought I knew Asheville pretty well, but that must be a part of Asheville that I'm not.
Yeah, I guess I've never been to that block.
Or don't we have a trolley in Winston-Salem, one of those little...
I don't believe so, man. I think those are freight lines.
Well, maybe we used to, yeah. I don't know. Well, anyway, let's get off the trolley and into the paranormal. Let's take the paranormal trolley.
Sounds good, man.
That sounds like a great idea.
What have you been working on recently, Al?
Well, I'm still trying. I'm still working on. And if anybody out there is listening that would have any information that would help me, I'd appreciate you giving me an email. And you were really good enough last time I was on to give that a few times. It's helpforthehaunted@yahoo.com, and it's all words. It's help for the haunted at Yahoo, and I'm working on my research that deals with schools and anomalous occurrences that take place inside schools. And that you would think that that would kind of be an area that you really wouldn't have a lot of psychic energy or paranormal energy, but actually there's a lot of that type of things inside schools. It's not talked about, and you have to be very careful to get permission to research it and those type of things. But I've been into a number of schools and researched paranormal activity that would be taking place or anomalous activity that takes place inside these schools. And
now, are we talking about just high schools and middle schools?
We're talking about high schools. I've been in high schools. I've been in elementary schools. I've been in colleges and universities. I've been in a college.
So the whole gambit, huh?
So it's just all over the board.
So you're not...
in Greensboro, there's, Aycock Theater has a great reputation of being haunted, and your old alma mater, Guilford, has a good reputation of having
that old Dana Auditorium.
Oh,
I know,
yeah.
because I've been there 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, man, and just.
Have you really?
Oh yeah, man, and had just white hairs, I think, appear out of my scalp, man, from being just.
That's really interesting.
So scared.
I've not had the opportunity to visit there. I have been at some of the other places that we've talked about, but I've not had the chance to be there. I've seen that on the internet, and I've talked to Jay about it. Now I'm talking to you that you've had experiences there. But
Chuck's
I've been to a number of other universities, and they're really good about inviting me in and those type of things. But you're all right also, Jay, that there's high schools that I've been in. I've been in some elementary schools, and also some private schools. And usually when you go into a school that has a reputation for having some anomalous activity, it's really a phenomenal experience. I mean, you really... schools can be creepy anyway, and that's my business. I've been in schools, the whole time, and as a former principal, you'd be working late at night, and that can get creepy even when you're in a school that doesn't have a reputation for being haunted, because they're big and they make a lot of noise.
Institutions totally, are just naturally cold and just sort of dead and scary places.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And one of the schools that we went into that was supposedly having a lot of anomalous occurrences, I went in with a member of actually Haunted North Carolina, and we were able to find that they had some problems with some of their wiring, which was creating some stuff. So there's a real benefit too to when you take your equipment in. Sometimes you find something, and it's not necessarily paranormal, but it's something that the school needs to address. And so that was really good, because we really found in this really old, decrepit part of the building they don't even let students into. It's like an old theater type place with the old theater chairs and stuff. There was just some. People would talk about, I just really have this creepy feeling down here and that kind of stuff. And what we found was that there were just large amounts of electricity coming out of these wires. And Andrew Nichols he's a college professor in Gainesville, Florida, And he talks about that if you have enough electricity that is invading the right temporal lobe of your brain, that can create hallucinations and those type of things.
Oh,
so
totally, yeah.
It is quite possible that that's why that people were experiencing that in this particular school, because we really did find extremely high readings of rogue electricity there.
So you concluded pretty much that it was a man-made phenomenon then?
Yeah, we felt like that one was a man-made phenomenon. But we also interviewed some people. We didn't actually interview the children. We left that up to the people, some of the administrators and counselors that interviewed the children, because it really, when you're doing this kind of research with schools, you really have to have special permission from the parents, and you can never go. You really can't take. There's problems using children in research for a number of different reasons. Number one, they have real active imaginations, and we really truly want to encourage that and encourage their creativity. And some of them, though, they feel, they don't get a lot of attention, children, bless their hearts. And then when you're giving them attention, every sentence that comes out of their mouth is more fantastic than the last one. And so you have to be careful with that. But even when you have the real deal, you have to be very, very careful, and you have to have parental permission. And I never interview a child without the parent there. And,
oh, totally. That could be a huge legal liability.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we guard against that, too. This research, it's of the highest protocol of ethics and that whole thing. But the reason I was invited into this particular school was the fact that they had a number of what they considered quote-unquote good kids that wouldn't tell us, wouldn't tell us things that weren't true, that were seeing people in parts of the building when there shouldn't be anybody in that part of the building. And so we were invited in to check that out, and I was not able to substantiate anything there, but it was in that particular building that we did find the electrical wiring that really was a little bit of it was a little suspect, and we brought that to their attention, and I'm assuming that was fixed, and I don't know that would have caused these children to see that, but we so many times, when you're studying the paranormal, it just doesn't act on cue for you, and we were unable to find anything, but we were there a couple evenings, and but the administration and the counselors took this very seriously, and that's the thing about it is we also, when we go in, we have to, we actually sign a contract with the school that unless we have the permission of the district superintendent and the principal, that any of our findings is just for them. This is not for publication, and it's not for sensationalism, but there's just times that you really, truly just, really would like to go public with this, but with some of the things that you find. But basically what I do is give a report back to the superintendent and give a report back to the principal. But it's just fascinating that, you get the opportunity to go in and set up all your equipment and spend a night or two in these schools. And some of them are really, really freaky. I've been in a couple that really, they must be scary during the daytime, and, let alone being there alone at night.
Well, how discreet do you have to be when you go into these schools?
I'm sorry? I didn't hear that.
Oh, I'm sorry. How discreet do you have to be when you go into these schools?
Oh, you have to be really discreet. I work with the administration, and we set up times when school's not in session, and it won't be in session the next day, so we can get our equipment in, get our equipment out. And we set up everything from motion detectors to cameras to EMF meters. We set up recorders all over the place trying to get EVPs. And then we go from room to room where there's been supposedly anomalous occurrences take place, and we do a lot of photography, and so we use all the equipment that we have at our disposal, and we go around and we take readings, and measure all the different things we can. So in order to do that, we have a couple of different things. Number one is we'll have a letter from the superintendent and the principal, and the principal's phone number, because, a lot of times when you're doing this kind of work, it's like Ghostbusters, you have the Ghost Hunter show, have lights out, which I think a ghost can be there with the lights on or the lights out.
I was going to say, where's your proton pack? I mean, I heard all the other stuff from the film.
Yeah, so, but anyway, that a lot of times we do keep the lights off, and plus, that if your building is lit up at 3 o'clock in the morning, people will call the principal, the next week and want to know, well, what was going on at the school. And they, and very few principals say, well, we had these paranormal investigators in. That's not really what they want to say.
Oh, come on.
But what is really interesting, too, is the reason we have these letters on us is because when you're in these schools and it's dark, you're using flashlights. And police officers take a dim view to people with flashlights in school buildings at night too.
I can understand. Have you been approached by police officers yet?
You know, I have, and it's really interesting. And then after you explain what you're doing, they become supremely interested. I've never yet have had a police officer laugh us off. And you explain to them, and then you usually end up having this really, really great conversation with them, and they end up telling you about their grandmother's house, you know, somewhere in Kansas or something like that. And,
that's cool.
It's just really nice. It truly is. I've never, ever been treated badly by a police officer. I really will say that, never at any point.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, not in regard to that. I had a few pulled me over, you know, want to talk to me about how fast I was driving, and they weren't quite as friendly. But
that marijuana pipe they found tagged on. No kidding. But
when you know me, pure and innocent as the driven snow.
I know that, Al. I know it. We're going to have to take our first break of the night. Dr. Al Proffit, you can call us here and speak with him. 877-722-7382. That's 877-SCARE-YOU2, toll free in the United States and Canada, or locally 336-996-1596. You're listening to World of the Unexplained, and we'll be right back with Dr. Al Proffit after this. And welcome back to World of the Unexplained tonight. Dr. Al Proffit until 9, and then we'll be switching off. So how many of these schools have you been in, Al, over the course of the last few months?
I guess that I also wanted, before I answer that question, I also wanted to give some accolades to Western Carolina University. I used to teach there, and they fully sanctioned this work as a part of my research. And I'm now at Appalachian State University, and they are pondering the question as to whether or not that they will officially sanction this work. They haven't told me that I can't do it, but as of right now, I'm having to do this on my own time. But Western Carolina University really was forward-thinking, I think, and really allowed me to use this as part of my research agenda. I did have to explain to the provost as to how this actually fit into education administration, which is what I'm hired to teach, and I gave him what he thought to be a successful explanation. But a lot of the administrators at Western that considered this question had paranormal events that they had witnessed in their life, which really did help. So, I mean, there were really high-ranking officials there at Western that had some direct involvement with the paranormal. So that really did help. But I really do appreciate the fact that they supported very much the research that I did. But now, to answer your question, I started that research. I've only actually been studying schools for maybe 2 years, and I guess maybe about 20. That maybe I've looked at 20 different schools. That would include colleges and universities, but it also includes, parts of schools that are used as parts of schools. Like, for example, that would be used a lot for field trips and that kind of stuff. I was able to use as part of my research, for example, and we talked about that the last time I was on the battleship U.S. North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
Which school kids raised a lot of money and gave to save the USS North Carolina, and then there is just so many kids that go through that and tour that. And it's a wonderful thing for history and World War II, but it's also just an absolute hot spot for paranormal activity, and so I was able to use that too, and I do count that. But this also would include administrative buildings that I've been in that no longer held classrooms, but strictly was for administration. Dorms, and dorms can become tricky, but there's a lot of things that do take place in dorms, like suicide and those type of things.
Now, out of all those 20 that you've done, how many of you, of those 20, how many of you found had something, a definite paranormal thing going on?
That's a really great question, and I would think probably of those, and this might sound like a disappointingly low number, but as I'm thinking back right now, I can think of about 3 or 4 that I really came across things that I could not explain. There's times that I can come across something I feel like I can explain. Sometimes I won't experience anything at all. But there's been about 4 schools that I've had things that I've actually, and I'm including in that too. You talk about the picture of the little girl that I took looking out the window.
That's creepy.
That's on a college campus. That's actually it's a historical site, but it's also a part of a college campus.
Which one?
At AB Tech. And since they gave me permission to come in, and they never asked me to keep it quiet, I'll go ahead and give them the credit for that. And that's just a phenomenal picture.
Well, if you want me to write these liberals over at Western Carolina a letter for you, I'll be more than happy to.
Well, they actually were they were very, very good about supporting this. They really were.
I don't mean Western, I mean Appalachian.
You mean Appalachian?
Yeah.
Well, actually right now, they've actually asked me, but this is not unusual protocol. When you request doing research of any kind, the university is certainly within its right to ask for additional information and clarification. And that's what they've asked me for at this particular point. But that's not unusual with even the most normal and the most boring of research projects. And, I consider this to be anything but boring, but they've asked me for more clarification. They didn't tell me no. So I'm real anxious, but hey, if they say no, I might ask you to see if I can help. Because I really had thought about the possibility of getting some of the bigger names, and I include you there. I do in the business to support this, because it's a research that I can look back on people that came before me. A couple people in my business. There's William James, who is the gosh, he's just one of the leading educators in, the early educators in the business, and he actually sacrificed a lot of his credibility in the area of psychology, in the area of education, because of his strong belief in the paranormal and his association with the American Psychical Society and his work with those folks. And Deborah Blum wrote a really great book about him called Ghost Hunters, and it's the story of William James. And
speaking of Ghost Hunters, Dee was telling me that you appeared on an episode of Ghost Hunters.
No, I didn't, but not that I'm aware of.
Okay, well,
I know some folks that did, but that have, not that did, that have, but no, I haven't appeared on Ghost Hunters.
I haven't either. I'm going to call Jason up.
I've talked to a number of those guys, and I've had a couple on when I've done when I hosted Speaking of Strange for Joshua. I had Keith Johnson, who was one of their crew members the first year, and I had him on, and I've talked back and forth with a little of them, with a few times with a few of them, but no, I've never been on. Okay. Our mistake.
Bad research. Dee's fault. Anyway, no minimum wage for you this week.
I got to ask you real quick, Al. You're up at App right now?
Yeah, I'm at App right now.
Okay. Did you see that, or were you at that game against Michigan about a month or so back?
I do it on the radio.
You listen to it on the radio?
Yeah, I teach on a lot of weekends, given the fact that I teach graduate school, and I couldn't go, but that's just one. Boy,
they called it the biggest upset of all time right there, man. I mean,
and then to lose, a couple of weeks ago to Walford, that's hard to explain, that you go in and you beat Michigan at the Big House and then lose there. But I guess such is football. But
yeah,
that really was a great thing for this campus and this whole university.
I know, because I know a few alumni from there, actually, and they were just going on and on about it, man.
Yeah, and back-to-back national champions, even though it's in the tier under the main division, is still, that's pretty good. And but I really will say I'm just tickled to death to be here at App, because it's just a really good school, and you have that. Not only you have athletics, as a matter of fact, I was in Florida with my mom, who had some heart surgery, and I was down there helping her recruit, and I was in one of the doctor's office, and I was looking through U.S. News and World Report, and came upon the fact that App State was listed for institutions that grant master's degree. It was considered the 10th best in the South, which I think of public institutions, and that's really good to be associated with schools such as that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, what do you like? Do you like App a lot more than you do Western, or can you even talk about that?
In some ways, I do. I really wish that App had just said, "Yeah, I want you to continue this work in your anomalous occurrences in schools." To the way that I look at it at this particular point, that would be the only drawback. I really, truly like. I like the support that I get for the research here. The colleagues I have are absolutely just wonderful to the person, and I also will pat App on the back because that they have Dr. Dan Caton here, who is actually studying the Brown Mountain Lights. So,
okay. Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. And as a matter of fact, he received a grant. And he, from what I understand, has a live feed out at Wiseman's Overlook in Linville, and so he's studying that ongoing. And I really think that's a good example to where that app doesn't have their minds closed to this type of thing. The fact that they've given Dr. Caton the go ahead to study the Brown Mountain Lights.
So,
and I'm really hoping that if they'll do that, then they will. Because you have other universities that really, in this particular field, have a reputation for that. University of Virginia, for example, they have a number of things. They're studying, first of all, they're continuing the research of Ian Stevenson's reincarnation, but they're also doing a lot of work with life after death, and so that's really good. And then you've got Gary Swartz, Dr. Gary Swartz at the University of Arizona, that's studying mediums, and I know that, Jay, that's a thing that we really have had some interesting conversations about, but he's a skeptic when it comes to mediums, and he does double and triple blind studies with them, and that's good. And then naturally, Duke University and the Rhine Center, even though that the Rhine Center is no longer officially under the umbrella of Duke, it's still on their campus, and really credible people at these schools. So you do have schools that are studying the paranormal, but they might not get the same amount of coverage as some of their other research, and sometimes people are they just keep it quiet when the university's doing that kind of thing. But
no, does app offer a paranormal psychology course or something like that?
Not that I know of, and very few schools do. You actually, from what I've seen in the past, you're more likely to find that at a community college than you are at a university, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, because you would think that this would just fit right in with the paranormal. With psychology, that you would have a paranormal psychology class. It would just fit right in.
Totally. Huh. Well, it looks like old Trent just showed up here. He's gonna.
Well, hey, Trent.
Well, he can't hear you yet. We gotta strap him in here. Hang on a second.
Oh, okay. They're in your spacious parking lot at the new studio.
That's it.
He may have to take a trolley in, or something.
He may. I don't know. Maybe one of those Joshua P. Warren trolleys. Yeah, I've got to find out how this thing works. As far as I thought, he told me trolley. Like I said, I've been under the weather, though. You can probably tell from my voice, but I don't know. I thought he said trolley to me. Maybe it's some kind of feverish delusion. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not sure. There is something new that he is doing. Something new, but Josh is pretty much an entrepreneur, and he is. He was setting up something new. I just didn't know that it involved a trolley.
Well, like I said, maybe I'm confused. I thought that's what was told to me. Yeah, another one of those. You remember last time when I was sick at the event at Twin Lakes Lodge, where.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, the delirious. Yeah.
Oh, here I am. What? How long have I been sitting here quietly listening to everybody?
2 seconds.
No, I was out there waiting for you guys to,
let you in.
Yeah. Well, no. The break.
Okay.
Break.
I got you.
I guess I must have missed that.
They treat you pretty poorly there, I think.
I know. When I'm not
around like a dog.
I know you guys are worse than a sewing circle. Whenever
I was bragging on you. You even tried to say hi 2 or 3 times, and they told me that you were laying out in the back seat or something.
No. The rumors of all that have been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah, he's got to sweep the floor tonight and vacuum.
Yeah,
so you're gonna have to do.
That's the price I pay.
And clean the toilet.
Price I pay for being late.
That's right. But with a toothbrush.
Hey, Jay, were you sick was that first night when we had all that stuff happen right around midnight, wasn't it? That we had the stereo that turned itself on, the alarm clock that hadn't been set that went off, and
our board doing crazy things.
Yeah, the boards were
sliders
just the lights.
Yeah, actually, it was
crazy on your board.
And the video recorder.
Yeah, it's right. It's a video recorder, not a stereo. It's a video recorder.
That was crazy.
The lights going up and down. I mean, there really was some interesting stuff, going on. Twin Lakes, and let's just plug that one more time. And I was able to actually include that as a part of my research as well, because the home place of John Hardin, who has written a couple of really extremely important books to school children in North Carolina, which would be The Devil's Trampling Ground and Tar Heel Ghost. And so we were there doing that. That's the second investigation. And there was paranormal things happen both times. There was some, we were kind of in a debate an offhand debate with a guy by the name of Bobby Zeller, if you know him, and he, one of the things that he said that, and I haven't talked to him directly, but he made a statement that really he was never aware that when somebody really, an investigator investigated a place, that anything really would happen. But, you know, at Twin Lakes, both times that I've investigated it, I've had things, pretty significant things happen at Twin Lakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
You know, and Anita and Bobby are just absolutely wonderful folks.
No, how are they doing?
They seem to be fine. As a matter of fact, I think that Fox News is going to come out and do a piece on Twin Lakes, and I'm really hoping, because you know, even if you're not even interested in the paranormal, it is just a lovely place to go, and this time of year especially. But if you're also interested in the paranormal, Anita can put you into a room that a lot of people have had things happen, and you know, and I've taken some photographs in that, and you know, these pictures have been sent. You know, they're called the fire pictures, and are you talking about the different places? And you know, nobody can really explain what's happening in there. I remember we showed them to John Zaffis that evening, and John's assessment of it was that we've captured psychic energy, and it's not just in one photograph, it's in a series of photographs, and actually it was, if you play them back in rapid succession, you get the appearance that there was a fire, and that just happens to be exactly right under where a fire did take place and almost burnt this building down, and it's just really interesting. So, and then we had, you know, the night that John was there and you were there and Doug from Ghostly Talk Radio, and, you know, we did that week-long investigation that you set up. I just pat you right on the back.
Well,
you
thank
set
you.
that thing up. And, oh, you did. And, you know, there was some really interesting stuff that took place in not only the video recorder, I mean, the video player that turned itself on, and then the alarm clock that went off that had not been set. And, you know, the lights on your control board just going crazy. You know,
that was a scary moment. I mean, there were really parts of that.
You know, when we were doing the investigation, there was a number, and we just heard this just tremendous noise, like it was like, honest to goodness, you were not, Jay, you were not in the, I don't think Trent was either. Maybe Trent was, but when we were upstairs in the room where this stuff mostly takes place, and there was a sound, it was just like a washing machine.
Yeah,
I actually thought it was a washing machine that somebody had set off, and I think we all basically blamed you for down there. We thought you were drying your sneakers or something. We didn't know what you were doing. But then there was no washing machine down there, and there was none that had gone off. And then the really interesting thing is that Doug from Ghostly Talk Radio was he was recording this whole thing through his laptop computer and a condenser microphone, and you know that did not pick that up, which was really, really interesting. So you had human witnesses to the sound, and so often in paranormal events it's just the other way around. You will capture things on tape or on the digital form that human ears don't hear. In this case, it was human ears that heard something that wasn't recorded, which was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I almost wonder, you know, if Mr. Harding weren't influenced in some way to write all these books, because I have a copy of Tar Heel Ghost, and it's probably one of my favorite reads. I still pick it up from time to time, but, you know, I wonder if, you know, growing up there that, you know, weird stuff happened at the place, and that sort of influenced them to start writing about paranormal topics. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because the best I understand that, yeah, I don't really know this for a 100% fact, but I think that he wrote those books there, and you just really wonder if he really was experiencing some of this sort of stuff. Of course, it's a collection of ghost stories that he's collected throughout North Carolina,
right?
But you just don't know if he's being influenced by that or what the connection is. That's a heck of a question. It really, truly is.
Now, I wanted you to talk about a little bit. We had mentioned during the break that you had been taking a lot of photographs from inside the haunted buildings and actually captured photographs of things looking back into the house that you're in. I want to hear about that. That's creepy.
You know, I recently did an investigation, and I was telling you that during the break that I was invited into a house to do an investigation, and I set up an infrared, well, it's a night vision. Infrared's probably a little higher. I'm giving a little credit, a little more credit.
Oh, we'll beef it up. It's fine.
It's a night vision, motion-activated camera, and I set it on a stairwell that has the reputation of, you know, footsteps going up and down at night and those type of things. and it triggered 300 times, or a little over 300 times, and I never, and it's the most boring thing to watch these 10-second clips 300 times of nothing.
I can only
found
imagine.
nothing. But I also took a lot of photographs from inside the house, trying to capture just whatever, just to see whatever's there. And I now have some of these photographs being sent off to different people. As a matter of fact, I'm getting ready to send them off to a police forensic photographer because so far, the only thing people can say, well, maybe there's dust on the windows, or maybe there's dirt on the windows, and that
looks like a face of a little girl. Yes.
But there's no mistaking that's a little girl. But, I have some actually, these, while not quite as clear as the little girl, some of these are as striking. I have one photograph that I've taken that appears to be multiple faces looking in the window, and that's the only time I've had faces, like the little girl. And there was another place that I investigated in Jackson County of a house, and there's clearly a face looking out from the window there, but I've never had a situation to where of a human face. I took a picture. You saw the picture of the cat that was looking in a window.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you all looked at that, and and I don't remember Trent. I remember looked at that and said something about that almost could be that there was some animal in the mountains of North Carolina that had this reputation. Trent, you remember what that was?
Oh,
or what
gosh.
That's from the Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
I know that, but anyway.
The Wayback Machine, yeah.
Yeah, but there's this picture of this cat that has these glowing eyes, and it's looking, and clearly I've documented that could not have been from the outside. There's nothing there that this cat could have been on.
Oh, I remember now. I think I might have mentioned, it brought to mind the rumor of the incident of the Bladenboro vampire beast, and that was
exactly.
But that was down in Bladen County, down by the coast.
That's during one of our breaks. We were just going through other things that other evidences that we'd found from other investigations, and sitting around in I think their dining room and talking. But that's the only other time that I've taken a picture of anything of something outside looking in. Mm-hmm. But there's a number of these photographs that I've taken that appears to have in a couple of different rooms. Well, I'm not really trying to take pictures to see if there's anything on the outside looking in. I'm just taking pictures of what's going on inside the house. Mm-hmm. And then there's something got my attention. I begin to blow it up, and clearly you can just see faces. And so I've sent these off to a number of different people, and basically the response I get back from people is that this really is unsettling to me. What I'm seeing here is unsettling to me, and there was no feeling of foreboding in this home. It was like sometimes you just go in and go, oh, this really is freaking me out, and it feels bad, but there was nothing but warmth, and it makes me wonder if there's something inside that house that's keeping whatever it is outside, which is really interesting.
Now, that is an interesting theory about it.
Do you have a website up yet, Al?
I do not. I do not, and I really need. Last time I was still working on it. I'm still working on. This day job of them actually asking me to write and produce stuff on education administration. And I'm not as technically advanced as you guys are.
Oh, come on now. But help for the haunted at yahoo.com, and that's HELPFORTHAUNTED at yahoo.com.
That's correct.
All right. So, Al, do you have any of these pictures that you can send us that we could post for you?
Well, I'll look through that and see if I can't find one or two. Yeah, that'd be really nice.
And the pictures of you and I and John, and that I still haven't gotten a year later.
Oh, yeah.
And what's really interesting, I told you last time we were on the air, I found the pictures from that we took.
Yeah.
But there's one disc that I didn't find the ones that has you and John Zaffis. I found pictures of the investigation itself, but I do have a picture I have some pictures of you and Trent, but I don't have, how we had those pictures of you and John at the fireplace?
Yeah.
And I know that's the pictures you want. That's what I do not have. But you know what? I tell you what I'll send you. I'll send you pictures that I took from that, and even I know that the argument of an orb is an orb is an orb. I understand that, and we could go on and talk about is an orb paranormal or is it dust. But there's some really interesting orb pictures that I've got, and you guys are in it, so that'd be great to have on the website.
Definitely. Well, Al, we're coming to the end of our time with you tonight. I really appreciate you coming back on the show on such short notice.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, Al.
Thank you, Al. Sorry
you guys.
only caught the last quarter of it, but,
Well, keep us in the loop, okay?
Yeah, it's always good talking to you guys. My best to you.
Definitely. Our best to you. Take care
Thanks
tonight.
again.
Sure will.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That was Dr. Al Proffit. Help for the haunted at yahoo.com.
That's right.
Contact him with any questions.
Swell guy. He goes and, I don't know, some of the things he's been involved in, I just, I don't even know if I know Scott would definitely have nothing to do with it, but, even I might second guess a few of those investigations.
Well, just some of those photos he comes back with are just so evil. They could be following him. That's a good point, D. I've never thought about that.
That's true, D. That's true.
That's kind of creepy.
Sometimes you hear about tales of those sorts of things.
Thanks for helping out there, D. Scare us to death. Well, anyway, guys, we're going to take a long break, and then we're going to be back in just a little bit with Jason Offutt, the author of Haunted Missouri. He's also got a blog up that I want you to check out, which I'll give you the address for when we come back on. But we're going to talk about all kinds of craziness, including UFOs and Bigfoot and all kinds of stuff probably when we get back. So hang tight where you're at. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. We'll be back with Jason Offutt after this.
How much time?
And we're back. Yeah, that's how much time. Good job.
No, wait a minute. Chuck didn't point, okay?
No, he didn't give me the finger.
He didn't point at anything because I was going to say, we are Wotu,
Okay.
We haven't used that one yet, but I will.
Well, you can use it next time.
All right, how about I?
Anyway, now tonight we're with Jason. We're with Jason Offutt again. Jason, you with us?
Hey, I'm with you. It's like I was just on last week.
I know. It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, wait. Maybe I was.
Were you on last week? No?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm just messing around. Being dumb.
Oh, man. How's it going?
Hey, things are going great here.
How's that nice Missouri weather treating you?
It's been this week, last week, and the next week. It sounds like it's going to be in the mid to lower 80s, clear skies, and it's just going to be gorgeous.
Wow.
It's going to actually be warmer there than it is here then.
Yeah, cool.
I think we're all through the 70s and like the 50s at night.
Well, it is October. And the trees are stripped bare of all they wear.
One of the crappiest U2 albums ever released.
Do they care? Well, that song was cool, though.
Yeah, but, I mean...
And it was a hidden track, so you didn't even know. So, I mean, somebody's so frustrated with the album that's like, this album's awful, and they throw it away, but they missed the best track. I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with anything. So, anyway, Jason, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I stopped buying music when Van Halen 3 came out.
Yeah, that was probably a smart option there.
Which album was that,
I guess
offhand?
so.
I'm not even familiar with that one.
I don't even remember the name of the lead singer at that point.
I remember at one time Gary Sharon from Extreme.
That's probably who we were thinking of.
Gary Sharon, absolutely.
Yep.
Gary Sharon.
And then David Lee Roth. It's kind of weird. Some kid asked me today.
Who David Lee Roth was?
No, he asked me if I listened to Van Halen. And I was like, well, I haven't listened to him in years. And he's like, and then I started talking about Eddie Van Halen. And he was going like, Eddie Van Halen, who's that? So I don't understand what his deal was. Like, he just heard myths and rumors of a band called Van Halen way back in the day.
There's been some talk in the press about David Lee Roth joining them for a tour.
Oh my gosh!
So that might be it.
No, David Lee Roth is actually on tour with them
right now, actually. And who is it? It's Van Halen's Eddie Van Halen's son, Wolfgang.
Wolfgang.
Hey,
Wolf Van Halen.
Hey man, don't bust me on that. That's going to be the name.
Little son, the 16-year-old son, is on tour with him. Did you believe that?
Did he replace Michael Anthony? Or?
Yeah, he replaced Michael Anthony, which is weird because Michael Anthony sings a lot of the harmonies, and I don't know if his kid is going to be able to do that.
It's going to be like the Brady episode. His voice is going to crack while singing.
Embarrassment all around for everyone.
I got to hear that on Panama. It'll be beautiful.
Oh man. Okay.
I'm
Well.
sorry.
Anyway, you've got a blog here called From the Shadows, a paranormal blog, and that address is http:// from-the-shadows.blogspot.com. I'll say that again for those of us listeners out there that want to write this down. It's http://from-the-shadows.blogspot.com. And you have archives in there with stories about a UFO crash in Missouri in 41 that we talked about last time. Mm-hmm. And the guy who tried to build a time machine to win the lottery, which is still one of my favorite topics.
That's a great story. Actually, about a week and a half ago, the town's about 1,300 people. I went out there. It's about 27 miles away from where I live.
Oh, wow.
I talked with the city manager, who was the guy who he used to work in the electric department for the city, and he was the first one to go into this guy's house.
Oh, really? Oh, I've got to hear this.
Well, and they were, of course, I mean, to catch listeners up to speed, this guy stole 6 300-pound transformers from San Joseph Power and Light, and each one of them capable to producing up to 76,000 volts.
That's a lot of voltage.
He was trying to build a time machine on the sagging porch of this little rental house, and of course, when he turned it on, they found him because all the electricity in town went down.
But he claimed to have threw his cat through time or something like that.
Well, that was a rumor going around. He resurfaced in 1990. He disappeared years ago. He resurfaced in 1997 to dispute the cat claim, and his direct quote is, "It just ain't true."
Okay, so no cat went into the future.
No cat that we know of went in there.
No feline was harmed during the making of this time machine.
Or maybe he just doesn't want to tell anybody that the cat went in the future. You know?
He wants to keep it secret because now he's won the lottery, right?
Well, he might have. That's what he went to the future for, is to get the lottery numbers.
You said he's disappeared, right?
Well, you said he reappeared, though, right?
Well, he reappeared in 1997, and as far as I know, that's the last anybody's heard of him.
So he
probably vaporized himself, is what he's doing.
I interviewed a couple of physics professors at the university where I teach, and they basically came to that conclusion when I described the time machine. They said, yeah, he's kind of a French fry, probably, if he tried it out.
Either that, or he went to a parallel dimension where the Daleks were, and they just exterminated him.
Oh, my God.
You know? Yeah. Very possibly.
Too much Doctor Who.
Look, it's possible.
If I go to a parallel dimension, I want it to be one of those from the 1950s where it's a planet full of women.
Oh, I want it to be one of those beer commercials from the 1980s where you and your buddies, the best buddies, sitting there. You crack open a Miller Lite and all these chicks in bikinis come out.
The Swedish bikini
team.
Exactly.
And you're like, hey,
materializes really.
That beer commercial in the 1980s period was the Swedish bikini team for Old Milwaukee.
Oh yeah.
Oh, was that who it was? Was it Old Milwaukee?
It doesn't get better than this. Yeah, and Swedish bikini team. They just materialized. I think they're out in Grand Canyon somewhere. And
I bet we could find that on YouTube.
Appeared.
You probably find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It was a great commercial, and trust me, I drank a lot of Old Milwaukee at that time.
I think we all have.
That never happened for you, did it?
I know. We keep on trying.
He's like, no, my wife's Swedish. What are you talking about? Wow, the beer commercials from the 80s. Tell you what.
Yeah, but the town I went to, going back to the time machine, one of the cool things about going to this town, Midwestern towns are great. You might have this in North Carolina too, the smaller towns. But I stopped to get gas. You didn't have the option to pay at the pump. Okay, number one, I like that. The convenience store I stopped to get gas proudly put out on a poster outside. We have cigarettes, beer, ammo, fresh pizza, and fishing worms.
I was going to say bait. I knew bait was coming.
Actually, there are a few gas stations around here that I've seen that combination.
That's great. You can't get a better sandwich than in a convenience store that serves bait.
Well, I tell you, there's still here in Kernersville, and I guess we're a town now of about 30,000, maybe if that, but there's still a gas station here that is full service, and has been ever since time immemorial. And they don't have a self-serve aisle. It's all full service. There's a guy out there that, you pull up and he pumps the gas in your car.
Yep, there's one of those in my hometown, which is just under 900 people, and they're old-fashioned gas tanks from probably 1962. They not only fill you up, they wash your windshield and check your oil.
Wow.
Now, if that isn't now, that's probably paranormal. It fits right in with the show.
Hey, we've got one of your Missourians on the phone with us, Ben from Missouri. Ben, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good.
Cool. Have you heard Jason on the program before?
Yeah, I caught the podcast, I don't know, like this summer.
Oh, okay, cool.
And, was wondering if I could ask him a question.
Sure.
I would absolutely love it. I need to ask you a question first. Where in Missouri are you from?
I am from Moberly, Missouri.
Moberly, Missouri. I know exactly where Moberly is.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your question?
Well, I'm from Moberly, and I was listening last time, and you were talking about Stephen College in Columbia and how that was supposedly haunted.
Right.
I was wondering if there's any other places around the Moberly area or the Columbia area that's haunted.
Well, in the Columbia area, Columbia College is supposedly haunted by they call her the Gray Lady. Of course, I couldn't get anybody from the college to actually talk to me about it.
No.
I ran into that problem with a number of colleges, so I don't have that much information on there. There is a building that is a fraternity house, and I don't have the information right in front of me to tell you what frat house it is. But Bloody Bill Anderson, who was a big figure during the Civil War in Missouri, after he was killed, he was paraded around the state. And he was put in the basement of this one fraternity house, and allegedly his ghost haunts the house. And that's how they haze freshmen. Stick them down in the basement.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, you can get a lot of this information in Jason's book, Haunted Missouri, published by Truman State University Press at tsup.truman.edu, or Amazon, I guess.
Yeah, it's at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com also. Or you can go to my website, JasonOffutt.com. There's the link.
Ben, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still there. It's cutting in and out, but
yeah,
I heard most of it.
Well, okay.
Hey, have you ever been to Arrow Rock?
No, I have not.
It's fairly close to Columbia, probably about a half-hour drive away. And the old tavern, it's a really cool town. It's kind of part of the main street of town's frozen in about 1820. They actually, back in the 70s, used that town to film the musical version of Tom Sawyer, starring Johnny Whitaker. But there's a tavern there that some pretty creepy stuff happened. And again, it's in my book at Amazon.com, Haunted Missouri.
Not that we're trying to push the book on you or anything, Ben.
It's actually one of the books I want to buy. It's just I got so many books at school and whatnot to read.
Well, actually, let me put
on
you
my list somewhere.
How about this? I've got a copy that Jason sent me. It's a little ragged because we've read the crap out of it. But how about I send you my promo copy when we get you on the phone with D here, and we'll get your information, and I'll ship it out to you tomorrow. How's that sound?
That would be absolutely awesome.
All right, great. I'll even sign it, even though I had nothing to do. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we'll all sign it.
We'll all sign it from Woe2. Yeah, I don't think this one was signed. I feel like I got ripped off here, Jason. What's going on here?
Yeah, you ordered it straight from the publisher. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have anything to do with it.
All righty then.
Just, what would be nice? Have everybody on the show sign Jason Offutt.
We could do that.
We can do that.
In many different ways, I mean, we could see what we could get for that on eBay. No,
I can sign it in Russian. That'd be kind of cool.
But yeah, I'll put you back on the phone with D, Ben, unless you've got some more questions.
No, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for listening. Just hang tight on the line, and D will get your information.
Okay.
All right, thanks for calling.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, well, there you go. We're giving away your book tonight.
We'll all sign
That's
it.
beautiful.
Jason.
That means he doesn't have to buy it.
That's right. Yeah, we're just padding your pocket, aren't we? We'll have you on, and then we'll give away your stuff.
We got 500 copies. We're just going to give them away to people.
Yeah, well, if you want, I've got a G.I. Joe with Kung Fu grip here that I haven't played with in years, so you can give that away, too.
Hey, that sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Okay, D's got a piece of paper. I was hunting around for it.
Yeah.
But, well, anyway, so we're talking about small towns. You remember the old-timey gas stations that had, like, the actual, the little spinning numbers.
Spinning dials instead of the digital.
Yeah, before it got digital, and where you actually had each pump for each side.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah,
and it went ding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple near my house, actually.
We actually have a telephone booth, one of the actual full-standing glass ones that you walk inside, on the way to my office down East Mountain Street.
Really?
No, you really don't see those very often.
No, those are rare in Hen's Teeth.
It's in, like, the parking lot on the side of this really sleazy-looking hotel.
That's why you see it there, man.
Those things were still going. Those things were completely out back in the mid 1970s. If you remember from the first Superman movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Clark Kent was going to go change in a phone booth, which is what he did in the comic books, and he has one of those little half phone booths. He kind of looks at it and runs away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my big question is it a dial? Do you have a dial, or do you have buttons?
I don't know. I haven't. I'm afraid of the hotel occupants, so I haven't actually stopped by.
I think you should go.
Probably a urinal anyway.
It's probably.
Well, you know how you go to all these phone, or you used to go to all these phone booths like that to look up a number in a phone book, and like there's always pages missing, or there's no phone book. You'll see like a cover, and somebody stole the phone book. If you have to steal a phone book, man.
Hey, you know what? The yellow pages is a lot of toilet paper.
That's true. Or burning material.
Somebody's wiping
material. Yeah, it makes a good log if you roll it up.
That's true.
Somebody's wiping my butt. My butt. Someone's wiping.
Okay, Scott. I don't know what.
Right now on the air.
It's not me.
Well, yeah, I'm way over here, Scott. So it must be some kind of.
Keep it working, D.
Some kind of psychic wiping or something.
No, somebody's wiping.
That's actually disturbing.
Somebody's wiping their butt with my ad. God, this is awful.
Yeah.
Or burning it.
You know, I can tie this back into writing.
Okay.
The best compliments that I can get as a writer is if somebody says to me, Jason, I've got your book on the back of my toilet.
No, it's true.
Because somebody's reading it.
That's true, because you know they're reading it.
I mean, that's where I read most of the stuff that I read for pleasure.
That's the few places where you know that a book sitting there is going to be read by somebody.
I mean, I have my DWI trial manual in there for a while, and I was like, man, you just can't read case law on the toilet. It's just it's difficult. You're like, oh man, you want something that you can relax with. That's why they call it a restroom.
I just can't get into it, man.
You don't read on the toilet?
No.
Are you one of those guys that's in and out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My family had such a tradition of reading on the toilet. My dad put a magazine rack in the bathroom.
That's awesome.
And this is prior. This is when I was a little kid. It was prior to cordless phones. He put a phone jack in the bathroom. There was a telephone sitting on the tank of the toilet.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That's probably why I'm so averse to the whole, notion of.
Yeah, you were scarred as a child.
My father spending many an hour in there on the telephone and reading magazines.
It's like weird. It was like an office somehow to you.
Maybe you want to get away from the kids and everything.
Well, when I was about 12, maybe this is why I loved the toilet so much. I don't know. It's fond memories as a kid because sitting in there, I'd rifle through the magazine rack, and behind, my dad was a farmer, so behind all the Today's Farmer magazines, there was a penthouse.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to ask how long you spent in that bathroom.
We will quietly move to another subject.
Do what?
I wouldn't answer.
Exactly.
That's right.
Wow. Well, this interview's just gone in the toilet.
Well,
literally.
Okay. Before this happened, we were talking about small towns.
Small towns.
My next book that I'm working on right now is called Never Too Far From Home.
Okay.
The subtitle being Ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, and the Chair of Death.
The Chair of Death.
There is a monument in a cemetery in Iowa that's this black chair, and local legend has it if you sit in the chair, you're going to die within the next year.
So it's basically like a black stone chair as a monument, right?
Right.
Oh my God.
Did you sit in it?
Which is how I kind of picture when William Shatner goes. It's probably what his headstone's going to look like. It's going to be the captain's chair from the Enterprise. It's beautiful.
Did you sit in the chair?
I will weep.
That is on my list of places to go to. I've not been there. The places I've been, one was pretty cool. It was the Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa.
Yes, actually, we talked about this last week with
Haunted St. Louis. Is that right?
Yeah. That was one of the things he brought up. But go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, well, no, it's cool. It's just this little house, 2 stories. It's got one side of it has those curved wedge-shaped windows that were in the Amityville Horror.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which really adds something to the ambiance of the house.
Yeah.
In 1912, an entire family was butchered by an assailant or assailants with an axe. There were 2 kids staying the night with the kids of the family. and they were killed too. But the mom of these two kids called the next morning to just see how their kids were, and the operator said, I can't connect you to anybody in the house because they're all dead.
Oh, well, that's...
Which is a heck of a way to find out that you don't have kids anymore.
Well, how did the operator know? That's what I want to know.
Oh, this was 1912.
Oh, I got
This
you.
town was probably about 700 people. The operator knew everything.
Yeah.
Haven't you watched the Andy Griffith show?
Absolutely. The operator is the
Andy Griffith show is like right down the road from here, man.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the
knew
operator was...
everything.
Yeah, with the little wires and stuff.
The operator was all knowing.
Yeah,
So,
now the operator knows nothing.
yeah.
Well,
And
because it's a machine.
right.
But since then, there have been a lot of people who've lived in the house. The house had such a stigma for such a long time after the murders that the brother of the guy who owned the house, gave it away rent-free for a long time because nobody would actually pay to live there.
Mm-hmm.
There was one family that did live there. The husband slept in the garage because he could not stay in the house. There was something in the house that he did not want to see. He did not want to experience.
Yeah.
And again, over the years, there've been a lot of reports of paranormal activity there. When I went, I didn't really sense anything, but it was still kind of creepy.
Yeah. How many people were actually killed in the accident?
6 people, two girls, 7 people. 2 girls who stayed over, the 3 children who lived in the house, and the parents.
Wow. And they never caught the murderer?
No, there was a big trial back in 1912. The forensic evidence that they could take at the time showed that all the people were killed in their sleep, except one girl. She had a shattered forearm, so they figured that she saw the guy with the axe and put her arm up to protect herself. Every person was killed with the blunt end of the axe, except for the father. He was killed with the sharp end.
Gosh.
And the worst part of it, I shouldn't say the worst part, but the strangest part of everything, the assailant got the axe out of their woodshed, so they were killed with their own axe.
Well, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
There were 3 people who were suspected of the crime. One, just a drifter. Another person was a traveling preacher who left town mysteriously and had blood on his feet or on his shoes when he got off of a train.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't enough evidence to convict him. And a local businessman who the husband, JB, was his initials, had beaten out for a John Deere dealership. They suspected this guy, but he later went on to become a state senator, and nobody messed with him.
Of course.
Yeah.
All the murderers do.
But, yeah, somebody who commits something that brutal, I mean...
Yeah, it does sound like, you had a good point, it sounds like a Rob Zombie movie. I was like, yeah, it does sound like something you'd make a movie about, the sleazy preacher and the John Deere guy and the...
Yeah. I don't know.
Drifter.
That's a terrible thing. But we were also talking about this house. People can go into it now, but I mean they haven't really renovated it or anything. Is that correct?
No, actually, they took the house. The person who bought it, he and his wife wanted to, because it's a big part of that town's history. This small town doesn't have that much exciting history, so he actually renovated it to what it was back in the early 1900s, which meant stripping out all of the electricity and the telephone and everything. It doesn't have anything. And
oh my gosh!
Nobody lives there. It's just a show house. He did the barn or the garage out back had been torn down years ago, but he built a new barn complete with toilet facilities and a cot and a kitchen area for all the paranormal investigators who come to the house.
Yeah, I bet that's the only people who would ever even spend any time in there.
Yeah.
Listen, Jason, we're going to have to take a break real quick. It'll be our last for the night. Just stick with us. It won't be too long.
I'm hanging right here.
Okay, guys. And we're talking to Jason Offutt tonight. Give us a call, 1-877-722-7382 or 336-996-1596. That's 1-877-SCARE-YOU-TOO. This is World of the Unexplained. We'll be right back.
And you're listening to World of the Unexplained tonight with Jason Offutt, author of Haunted Missouri, blogspot that I can't remember what it is right now. Help me out here, Jason.
Yeah, it's From the Shadows. It's from -the-shadows.blogspot.com.
There we go. That's a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it also has his other website,
Yeah, JasonOffutt.com. And that's spelled OFFUTT. Offutt. Yes. All right.
So let's talk a little more about your new book and what you're going to throw in there besides the chair of death.
Well, the chair of death is going to be fun. As we were talking about on break, I'm not sitting in the chair of death.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if my insurance policy covers that.
Chair of death excluded.
It's a little like watching that Ring tape, man.
Yeah, well, that's what I was joking on break. I was like, you get a phone call instead of saying 7 days, it's like 365 days. Click.
And you're just gonna see weird images of like a horse's head and like a banana peeling and maybe a little kid on a bike with a rain slicker and he falls off his tricycle.
Wasn't that during the boat scene on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Probably.
Yeah, actually the boat scene, and there was a chicken in there too that died horribly. Oh my gosh, that Johnny, the new one doesn't even compare to that. But anyway, so go ahead, Jason.
Well, anyway, I'm covering a lot of spots in the Midwest. I picked a 200-mile radius from my house.
Oh man!
The basic premise of the book is the paranormal doesn't just happen in the Pacific Northwest. It doesn't just happen in Lake Champlain, and it doesn't just happen in Roswell, New Mexico. It happens right outside your back door.
That's a pretty good premise.
Well, and I think that's the idea is pretty cool just for that effect. But I'm also too damn cheap to pay for gas to drive any farther.
Oh, come on!
Than 200 miles away from my house.
Well, it sounds like
there's a lot of really cool things around. Within a 200-mile radius. We mentioned the chair of death. I talked about the axe murder house. There's a town in Kansas called Atchison, which is the birthplace of Amelia Earhart.
Okay.
And there are quite a few haunted spots in there. I'm not going to any private residences, although there are a bunch of private residences listed as haunted. Because like my book, Haunted Missouri, I want to make sure people can go to these spots.
Right.
So there is a spot in a park where a woman was killed, and her ghost supposedly, her name was Molly, supposedly haunts that creek. There's also a lot of strange experiences at a museum in town that I'm going to go to.
Oh, what's going on at the museum?
Oh, just basic haunted stuff, things flying across the room, like in the library scene in Ghostbusters.
Cool.
Right.
Sumerian book stacking.
But I'm also going to be tackling UFOs. There's an active UFO group in Iowa that I've set up an appointment with in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to go talk to them. I'm going to be talking about Bigfoot. Surprisingly enough, Bigfoot has been seen in every state and actually in almost every country that I know of across the globe.
Really?
Including Great Britain and Australia.
Huh.
Weird.
And, of course, the Australian tradition of naming things gave it a strange name. It's called the Yowie.
Yeah, I remember about the Yowie.
Because it makes you say Yowie.
Actually, I just read a book about the Pacific, and what was it? It was David Hatcher Childress, and he was talking about the Yowie when he was walking around through Australia down there. And it was some kind of Sasquatch, Bigfoot-like creature.
Didn't you say we used to have camels in North Carolina?
Yes, we did.
Maybe, yeah, I guess it was D saying it used to be camels in North Carolina.
Camels?
You mean the cigarettes?
No.
We still have those, Jason.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They make those about 20 miles away from here, actually.
Well, Joe Camel's been out of work for a while. It might have been him.
Possibly. I didn't know about. Well, I know we had buffalo too here.
Yeah, but that's just really weird to have actual camels in North Carolina of all places.
Yeah. Well,
there are camels in Australia. There have been. It's a weird phenomenon of phantom kangaroos. Seen in many different countries, and they've been seen in the United States from Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and spots in the Midwest. I don't think they've been seen farther west.
Are you serious? Phantom kangaroos?
They just don't die, man.
But I mean, I don't even know where to begin talking about that. I mean, did kangaroos live in these places and they died, and there's some kind of weird spirit thing that kind of drifts along? I don't know.
Pet ghosts.
Yeah, pet ghosts. That's odd. But I like your premise, though. I mean, honestly, really, any of us can basically, if we do the research and look around. I know Scott. I know everybody in this room has done a little bit of it here in our state. And I can think of several places that have, seem to be haunted or have some kind of haunted phenomena, and they're really not far away. And, I guess really the trick is, differentiating the rumor, oh, that place looks haunted because it looks old and creepy, versus, oh, that place looks haunted because
it's got history.
It's got history, and a lot of people have seen stuff there. You see what I'm saying? But
right.
It's a very good premise, though.
Well, and the thing is, one of the reasons I got that, came up with the premise is when I was, I've been on tour, on book signing tours with Haunted Missouri, and almost everybody I've talked to has their own strange story. If it's not a ghost story, it's a UFO story. If it's not a UFO story, it's a Bigfoot story. So people everywhere have seen or experienced something strange. I interviewed a guy from Colorado, which is not in my book, but it's on my blog, From the Shadows. He ran into some weird time vortex in Colorado in this store that he owned. When he walked upstairs and when he walked downstairs, things were just a little bit different. A magazine he'd just been reading was still the same type of magazine, but it was like completely, the cover was completely different, and all the information that he just read there were different stories.
Really?
So there are strange stories like that abound.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for the folks that, a lot of times they're just people that are just kind of day to day walkabout, doing whatever, and these things just sort of drop in on them. That's what I find so fascinating about it. It's not always people wanting the attention. They just.
Have you heard about this Thunderbird thing or something? This giant, like black bird that they found. Have you ever heard of this? Where they say there's like two pictures and everyone seems to remember seeing the picture, but no one can actually find the picture anymore. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah. There are a number of different stories about Thunderbirds. Some of the Thunderbird has a place in most of the American Indian mythos, and thinking about how big and the America is and how widespread everybody was, it's kind of odd that they all have that story of the Thunderbird in their mythology. But even up till 10, 20, 30 years ago, I think in Pennsylvania, actually, a 10-year-old boy was playing outside, and this huge bird picked him up and was carrying him away. And if it wasn't for his shirt ripping and him dropping to the ground, who knows, he would have been buzzard feed somewhere.
Oh, that's
the picture
weird.
I think you're talking about, there is a picture of a bunch of Union soldiers from the Civil War standing over what looks to be a dead pterodactyl.
Yeah, that's the one.
Right. There are a couple of pictures. I don't think their authenticity's ever been proven or disproven.
This is a 19th century photo of it?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I need to check that out.
Oh, yeah. Well, where do you live again, Jason?
I live in Maryville, Missouri, which is about as close to Iowa as you can get. I teach at Northwest Missouri State University, and I grew up around Kansas City, though, which, contrary to popular belief, is in Missouri.
Ah, okay. Well, we've got Ron on the line from Raleigh, North Carolina. Ron, how you doing?
Hey, guys, what's going on?
Not much. How you been?
I'm doing just fine, man. Want to say hello to all of you guys tonight, and all of your listeners on like KWSS in Scottsdale and Phoenix on FM 106.7.
Awesome.
And what is the other one? East Hill Radio, AM 1650 in Washington.
Oh, he's doing our job for us.
Seriously, yeah, wow.
Hey, you should call in every week. This is great promotion stuff.
Exactly.
I'm working on it.
Thanks, Ron.
Anyway, it just so happens I'm part of a news group that is like a Yahoo group, and it's like the Minor Planet Watch List or something, but they talk a lot about comets, and they had one on there from September 24th. I put the link up in the chat room.
I'm looking at it right now. Extraterrestrial impact likely source of sudden ice age extinctions.
Exactly, and it's talking about something on here in the first paragraph, something called a Territorn, which is a condor with a 16-foot wingspan, which sounds a lot like a Thunderbird to me.
Well,
yeah,
right?
definitely
Doesn't that sound like the appropriate size?
Right. The Territorn was around in the Pleistocene era, and that's probably where the Thunderbird legend came from. It was a huge bird as big as as big as an airplane.
Wow.
Huge.
Like a 747, or what are we
No,
talking?
not that big.
Gulfstream. maybe a Gulfstream then.
It's like a Piper, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right.
Still,
right, but it would have been big enough to like pick up a buffalo calf or something like that. Probably been what it would have been eating, or something of that scope, I think.
Yeah, that's
or a
true.
human.
Right, and again, American Indian legends tell of these birds picking up animal like deer and unfortunately their children.
Good God, can you imagine?
Crazy.
Right, but
really
the impetus of the news story was that it was a very large impact. There was, I think, a bolide impact, and they're saying that would have been big enough. I think they said if it hit in the ocean, that it would have caused enough destruction and would have accounted for a lot of the burials and the sudden climate change and things like that.
Well, and I had read, it's been a number of years ago, but there was a time, it was right at the Ice Age period, where some scientists speculated that the human race was down to about 2,000 people.
Oh.
So
Right.
that kind of an impact had affected us, not just the animals. But yeah, you're right. You're completely right on.
It was like a gene pool bottleneck. I think that was in the National Geographic several years ago.
And we're the product.
Oh, well, you can look at it that way. Some people say we've always been the product. Yeah, it's a Christian paranormal radio, so we're the product of Jesus.
Of course, you got to believe in science in order to buy all that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think everything has its place. I never had a problem with being organized. I was looking at some other news stories. The two big ones that jumped out from today was the recall of this 1.2 million pounds of beef. What do you guys think about that?
I haven't seen that. Where's it from? China? Nah, I can't.
From Arkansas. Hudson Foods of Arkansas had to pull back some stuff with some E. coli.
Oh, great.
It's the largest meat recall in U.S. history.
Oh, wow. I guess we are.
Where's it gone? Where's it gone to? Do they know?
Mainly commercial stores like Walmart, I think. And
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, don't buy it from Walmart.
Great.
Sorry,
And those people from Peter are saying, "I told you so."
Uh-huh. Yep. Well, Ron, you got anything else for us?
Just calling in to say hello and talk to you guys and listen some more to the ghost stories. I kind of liked where it was going. I sent up a link earlier about the Gray Man of Powley's Island, South Carolina. That was the name of the guy who shows up before hurricanes. And the legend goes, if you see the Gray Man, he tells you to get off the island because there's going to be a huge storm. If you leave, your house will be the only one standing, and it'll be untouched almost.
Really? That's wild.
Yeah, I've heard of the Gray Man before.
Huh.
That's an ancient legend, from the 1700s almost, or I think the early 1800s.
Huh. Interesting.
So cool.
Well, thanks for calling.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, no problem. God bless you guys, and I'll talk to you again.
All right. God bless you too, Ron. Take care. Okay, I've got a question in the chat room. Is how far away is he from where the In Cold Blood murders happened? I'm assuming they're referring to Truman Capote.
Wow, that is a great question.
Yeah.
12 miles.
12 miles?
Truman Capote. We're bringing Truman Capote in there. That's
No, In Cold Blood. I'm sorry. No, it's not the In Cold Blood. It's the, what am I thinking of? God, it was a movie played by Ken McElroy, the Ken McElroy story. I'm sorry. It's not In Cold Blood. I'm farther away from that. Although I did meet a person who worked that case. He was the mayor of a town called Marshall. But just beside the point, no, the thing that we're close to in Maryville, we're 12 miles from, is the town bully. He was drinking in a bar one day and walked outside, and a whole big group of people stood around him, and somebody killed him.
Wow.
And nobody ever admitted to it. It was a pretty big case. I can't remember what the book was called. That's why I was confused. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
So I think it's kind of cool that we bring up Truman Capote, even though you're not close to it, but
Yeah, sorry. I kind of jumped the gun there. I'd forgotten the name of the book.
Yeah, I kind of got. Whoa, really?
I haven't seen that film. I've got a copy of it laying around somewhere that I plan on watching.
Good, man.
Why?
The town of Skidmore that this is based on. It was a made-for-TV movie starring Brian Dennehy, I think.
Huh.
Anyway, they killed this guy named McElroy, and nobody to this day the case has never been solved because nobody in town will admit to anything. Nobody will talk.
You must be a real hated SOB for something like that to happen to you.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, this is also the town that a little over a year ago, somebody from, I don't remember some little town in Kansas, came over to Skidmore, Missouri, which is the name of the town, and there was an 18-year-old pregnant girl, and this woman cut her belly open, and stole the baby. Do you remember that case?
Yeah, vaguely, I think.
Okay. Things happen in that little town like this. I went to it once. I drove through town at 25 miles an hour. People
with the doors locked
in their yard and stared me down as I drove through.
Really?
So,
Good gosh. What town is this?
It's called Skidmore.
Skidmore, okay. Skidmore, Missouri, right?
Yes.
Okay. Note to self, avoid Skidmore, Missouri.
Yeah, avoid Skidmore, yeah.
You know, some of those small towns where people just have a staring problem.
Don't stop to take a whiz there.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, you know, if anything, because nobody goes through the town, and maybe because...
They don't know you. They know everyone else there.
Yeah, or maybe it's a coven of Satanists. You know, it could be either one, really. They're just bored or they worship the devil.
They've probably got those good American 1950s values. They see Chuck rolling in, they're like, that boy's a hippie.
Oh, when I got my job up here at the university, my wife and I went to not Skidmore, but a different town close by, and we looked at this great house, and as we were leaving, there was a guy next door sitting in his yard cleaning his rifle.
Oh,
yeah.
She did not want to live in that town because of that, and I'm thinking, you know what? I feel safe.
Yeah, exactly. He'll shoot the bad guy.
Yeah.
That's true.
All I got to do is make friends with that dude, and we're fine.
You're good. Yeah,
that's right.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah, seriously.
So the town that you live in now, where you teach, I mean, is it considered a small town? I mean,
yeah, it's without the college students, it's maybe 10,000.
Oh wow,
okay. That's pretty small, all right.
Yeah, it's of course the town I grew up in being about 800. Yeah, that.
Oh, you're at the big city now.
Yeah, you're in a metropolis.
Yeah, we got a fast food taco joint. Come on.
All right.
Fast food taco joint is
y'all probably
clear
have
sign of cultural superiority.
Y'all probably have more than one McDonald's, don't you?
No, we have 2 Subways, though.
Really?
Weird.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you guys are thinking about your health out there. That's good. I like that.
I finally, speaking of McDonald's, my wife and I finally rented and watched Super Size Me.
Yeah, what'd you think of that?
Oh, it was a movie. It was a great movie. It was very eye-opening. We sit and watch the movie sitting on the couch eating nachos.
Oh, I thought you'd say eating a Big Mac. I thought it'd been better.
That would be what I would
do. Just as bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I remember when that movie first came out and I watched it, I was like, wow. I mean, you know the stuff's bad for you anyway.
Yeah.
But it was very eye-opening.
This guy goes and eats it, 3 times a day?
For 30 days, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's asking for it. Yeah, he was also a vegetarian, so that also, I guess, incorporated
it was
the weight
an
gain.
extreme dietary shift for sure. But what other kind of ghost stories can you talk about, Jason? Just pick one at random, really.
There is a with kind of the theme of the book. I can't include this in the book though because it's a private residence.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a house about a mile away from my back door.
Mm-hmm.
These people looked me up. I guess now that I write about ghost stories, people are which is cool because I don't have to go out and find them.
Right.
People are finding me. But this house was built on a spot where they are pretty sure there never was a house, but who really knows?
Yeah.
None of the adults had ever seen anything except for one of the daughters who was in her mid-20s and pregnant at the time. She saw this, but all of the grandkids, and there were like a dozen grandkids, who all reported seeing a little boy that they called David. And the one adult, like I said, she was pregnant. She saw him just fleetingly. But all of the children but one were scared to death of this little boy because they said he was mean. He'd kick over their blocks, take their toys, push them down, pull their hair, you know, things of this nature. They also reported, even the adults saw this, reported some little furry thing running around the house, and they didn't know what the hell it was. They had hired a cleaning lady who quit saying, "You know why I'm quitting."
Oh, wow.
Okay, and the real killer of the whole thing is this one aunt of this little boy who was about 3. She was looking through the TV guide, and he was sitting on her lap. And as she was flipping pages, there was some monster movie, and there was a picture of a monster. And the little boy said, "Oh, that's David."
Huh.
Ooh.
Which, of course, scared the crap out of the aunt.
Oh, my God.
I wonder what monster movie it was.
Yeah, she didn't remember, but it was something furry, toothy, and slathering.
Wonderful.
Gosh. Wow, that's a great one.
Well, you heard it here first.
That's true. You can't.
Yeah.
You're not putting it in the book, so you got to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, you will not get that in the book. You will get that on From the Shadows.
Oh, okay.
However, I did write about that. Of course, one of the scary things about the paranormal, looking at it from the Christian perspective, is the fact that ghosts, if ghosts are actually there. When I was a kid, I saw a ghost. So I personally think something's out there. But the Christian perspective is, according to the Bible,
demons.
If someone passes on, we cannot communicate with them.
Yeah.
So the point is, who are these people seeing? Who did I see? Who are people using a Ouija board communicating with? Lower level demons, again, according to the Christian perspective, is what these people are dealing with. So although something might seem a little harmless, probably not so much.
That's true. Definitely. Always good advice. Avoid Ouija boards or anything like that.
Avoid Ouija boards, yeah.
But we got about, we got
2 minutes.
We got like 2 minutes before the show's over.
We got to let you go. But thanks so much for coming back on the program.
Hey, had fun. Always have a fun time with you guys.
Fantastic.
We do with you too.
And again, if I can, my book of ghost stories, Haunted Missouri: A Ghostly Guide to the Show Me State's Most Spirited Spots, can be found most easily on Amazon.com. My website, where I write about the paranormal, is from -the-shadows.blogspot.com. There's also a link there to a book that I'm going to be working on in the next year and a half about shadow people. So if you have a shadow people story, there's a link that you can go to and tell me your story.
I got a couple, actually. But
yeah, Trent does. You have to send it to him. Well, Jason, thanks so much for being on tonight. We appreciate
fantastic.
it.
Yeah, again, thank you very much. You guys take care.
Thanks,
all right,
you
Jason.
Too.
You too.
Bye.
And that was Jason Offutt. And we're about out of time.
Could we have cut that any closer? I mean, I was just like looking over. Oh my gosh, 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, we were getting good stuff there.
That's true. I mean, that was a fantastic story. Oh, that's David. That slathering, toothy, hairy monster. Apparently, its name is David.
We've got more stuff coming at you. This is October, so you're going to have some weird stuff going on.
All kinds of weird.
But
that's our slogan for this month. All kinds
October,
of weird.
All kinds of weird on the WOTU.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, I'll try to get these archives up here for those of you listening live tonight. I'm behind. I realize that, and the website is pathetically behind, but...
And feverish, too.
Oh, yes.
That's feverish. Probably has malaria or typhoid or something.
Probably.
You never know.
Anyway.
I had that last year. It was pretty bad.
Well, this is Jay Scott, your only JDDJ on the OmniSound Radio 1 network.
This is Trent Lackey. We're coming to you from Kernersville. As always, a small town. Talk about big things. Chuck.
Be out!